So this Am I the A-hole post was sent to me a few times. And like I say about these women doing these Am I the A-hole posts, they're simply looking for validation for feeling normal human emotions. She says, my husband gave me a warning tap and I called it abuse. Am I the a-hole? She says, as I'm writing this, I'm laying in bed with my mom. She's helping me gather my thoughts for some other opinions. I am 24 and my husband is 30. We've been together for 3 years, married for one. This is a throwaway account just in case. About a week ago, my husband and I got into an argument over his phone, which he misplaced. I was in the shower when he lost it, and when I came out, he was throwing an effing fit over it. He was like, where did you put it? Have you seen it? Angrily yelling and snapping. I said I hadn't touched it and I needed to get dressed. My husband was standing in the doorway looking behind the door, so I couldn't open it. I said, hello, move, please. Apparently, my tone was rude because my husband turned around and shoved me into the room. I was like, okay, but you need to calm down. I can help you look, but I got to get dressed. He tells me to hurry up, and I snap back. I'm not going to hurry up. It isn't my effing fault. My husband turned around and hit me on my mouth with the back of his hand. It didn't even really hurt, but I was appalled. He called it a warning tap because of my attitude. I left right then and there. I called my mom and came over. I haven't left. My brother took me over the next day to get a few things. My husband asked me if all this was really necessary, and I said, yeah, it is when you abuse your wife. He was so stricken that I called it abuse. He screamed at me for it. He said I could ruin his career if I used that word. I know that I can, and I know that he didn't even hurt me, but that's how I feel. He sent me several texts threatening to divorce me if I use that word again or try to hurt his career by saying it to someone important. Am I the a-hole for saying this, potentially citing this, and potentially ruining his career? So I'm sure that most of the women who frequent my pages know that this woman is absolutely not the a-hole, that this is abuse, that screaming and emotional abuse are valid reasons to walk away, that pushing someone is abuse. All of this is abusive, and this man is abusive, and she's using the absolute correct term to describe him. Alejandro says, when my boyfriend couldn't find his phone, he asked me to call him, like a normal person. Financial Rabbit says, how is anger the natural response over this? I think like 99% of humans would say, can you call my phone? Guilty Shopping says, I mean, I've lost my phone and felt a bit frantic if it was needed imminently once or twice. It's just basic stress. We all feel stress. Sometimes people can get angry from stress. That's mostly normal. If you're so ill-equipped to handle stress, you react violently towards those around you, even the people who love you. You are not a healthy person for anyone to be around. It's that simple. It's not normal at all. B. Thorne says, and he didn't just do this in the heat of the moment, which would have been bad enough. The next day, after he's had time to consider this, and she's made it clear this is a big deal, he's more bothered by the prospect of harm to his reputation than what he did. And Adventurous Ad says, well, this could be really bad for him. It could have repercussions for him, for his career. His wife feeling betrayed and scared as she recalibrates her entire life and tries to process the person who's supposed to love her most was violent over something that wasn't her fault. I mean, okay, but remember that his workplace could find out about it and his life may never recover. OP needs to stop using words for what they mean. It's not fair to her husband. Sarcasm. Texas Sucks says, not the a-hole. He not only hit you with intent, physical abuse, no matter if it hurt or not, but he's minimizing your concerns out of fear over his career, then proceeds to threaten divorce. Over what? A lost phone? Red flags galore. There has to be underlying tension that caused this incident, if not an even bigger red flag. And then BurbNBougie says, yeah, not only does he hit her, but then he starts with the threats to try to keep her mouth shut. The man is more concerned about his job and reputation than he is about smacking his wife in the face. It doesn't matter that it didn't hurt. That's just blind luck. Next time, and there will be a next time, it will hurt. There's only one direction from a warning tap, and it ain't down. Let him threaten divorce. It sounds more like a relief than a threat. Never tolerate being hit by your partner. That is gone for good behavior. that is totally gone for good behavior. Then the OP says, he threatened to divorce me because he often says I have nothing without him. I started to believe it for a while. I think he thought I'd be begging him not to, making me apologize like he's done many times before. But I'm not. Great. She's standing her ground. All right, the Kimmeteer says, run while you still can. No one responding to you in this thread is overreacting. It will escalate, and he will work harder and harder to isolate and demean you. Don't let him. Get out. Don't fall for any love bombing he may try in desperation. Don't be alone with him. He knows how the systems work better than most. That makes him even more dangerous. You're young. You're obviously strong and bright. Protect yourself and divorce as cleanly and quickly as you can. Onward and upward, friend. Torino says, exactly. That warning tap was a warning of worse things to come. Don't go back, OP. Consult a divorce attorney pronto. Now, listen to this part. Yeah, he literally said those words. I guess a warning to stop being so rude, but who knows what the next step is. He's never hit me before, but he's pushed me down and thrown things in my face before. This part right here. He is also a divorce attorney, but I suppose I just need a better one. So he knows the system. He knows how to get around things, but this is also why he's so worried about his reputation. All right, we're going to end it there. I do want to say that this is probably why so many people talk about don't date or marry police officers, judges, lawyers, because they know the system, and abusive people know how to get out of these types of things. Anyway, join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, share. So this was posted in the Black Ladies subreddit. This is an example of a pest that needed to nest and rest. She says, am I being unsupportive? She says, I finally let my boyfriend of 3 years move in with me, and I'm realizing I don't even like him enough or even love him. When we first started dating, he had qualities that I liked about him, and he is a total green flag. However, last week, someone stole his moped, and for 5 days, he has been moping and drinking every day, to the point where he has missed work. I tried to be understanding for the first couple of days. However, I couldn't take it anymore and yelled at him to get his ish together or go. He suggested we break up, and I told him, okay. But then he got mad at me for not reacting the way he wanted, like crying and begging him to stay. I have told this man I am not the begging type and that he is free to leave. Then the next day, he cuts his afro and eyebrows off like this man went from a huge afro and now he is bald. Then he starts crying, saying, please don't give up on him. We were good friends before this, before we started dating, and I would hate to lose a friend, but I'm starting to want him gone out of my life. It's crazy because my family loves him and he's not a bad person, but I can't take the moping and drinking. The drinking, the moping, the missing work, that is avoidance behavior. He is going to continue to spiral down, and she is doing the right thing with nipping it in the bud, because if he doesn't snap out of it and he just stays wallowing, he's going to need to be taken care of because he's already missing work. She sees the writing on the wall. He is a potential pest that is about to burrow into her sofa and need her food and need all of her resources. Absolutely not. She's doing the right thing. Apprehensive ad says, it seems like he waited until he moved in with you to show all of his red flags. He might be going through a rough time, or this could be a preview of his crazy. Don't wait around to find out. Freshly Intellectual said, I'd also add that this behavior can be a precursor to abusive treatment. Some men get violent and take their issues out on their partner when they start drinking like this. He's already starting to be manipulative with his emotions to get her to stay. It can even be a manipulation tactic to act unhinged so your partner feels too bad to leave. This is not healthy. And remember when we were talking about how avoidance behavior, repressive behavior, all of that can lead into violence as these people fail and flail. A forehead lipo says, agreed, him missing work might indicate he's starting to feel comfortable being dependent on you. Women in this position are easier to manipulate because you're suddenly backed into a corner, spending your money on him, and aren't able to pour into yourself. Get him out of your space before he can establish squatters' rights. Do this before he starts getting mail at your home. And then Freshly Intellectual says, exactly, this is how women get trapped. Exactly. Do not let parasites stay at your house for too long, because yeah, it's a process to evict them. Interesting turn says run. This person, BX Star NYC, says this, literally nothing else needs to be said. Put him out now. This person says, yeah, I'd be done too. Lack of resilience or hustle mentality is a turnoff for me. I get wanting to maybe have a drink to drown his sorrows right after it happened, but days on days is a lot. Adding on to the fact that it's causing him to miss work, aka his livelihood, which will mean you will be financially responsible for his carelessness if you stayed. Moped or not, it's not time for Buddy to roll. It's time for Buddy to roll or step the F up if you wanted to be with him. Fang Bang says, yep, I agree with everything you said. Plus, he sounds unstable. Run, OP, break up with this man and move on. Yeah, shaving your eyebrows is definitely unstable. Okay, equivalent success says, Auntie here, you should have him leave because you don't like him or love him. That is reason enough. As for the moped, was it stolen or did he get carjacked? You gave him ample time to grieve and he suggested you break up. So hit the road, buddy. Remember, if you, as a black woman, can get it together enough, hustle, grind enough to keep a roof over your head, any man worthy of you is doing the same. Exactly. I like this part right here. You should have him leave because you don't like him or love him. Exactly. That is enough reason to break up with somebody. And with that, I'm going to end this here, because Auntie there, she said enough of a word. That's enough reason to break up with somebody. But y'all go ahead and chime in. This one was posted in the marriage subreddit, and I cannot fathom what this woman is going through. She says, my husband says he effing hates our baby and wish it was never here. Obviously, you know that this post is going to be a sensitive post. She says, my husband has no patience with our 4-month-old. We're older parents. I'm 43. My husband is 55. We've been married for 2 years and our son wasn't planned. It just happened. At first he was happy, but once the baby arrived, I realized he was no longer happy. He rarely helps with the baby, claiming he doesn't know how to do anything, despite me showing him simple tasks like changing diapers and putting on clothes. He says it's too hard and never truly tries, so I've been doing it all myself. Our baby has had colic and would cry more than usual. My husband hated that and would get very annoyed if our son cried for more than 5 minutes. He would yell at me to do something, get him to shut up, and never once tried to help. I felt so alone during the first weeks after our son was born. Then my husband began complaining that the baby was taking up all my time and I had no time for him. Now our son is 4 months old and has started being very clingy, crying every time I put him down. It's been really frustrating because there are times that I have to set him down, but I never let him cry for more than 10 minutes. She says, yesterday I had to run an errand and left my husband to look after our son. I wasn't gone for long. It was probably 15 minutes after I left when he called me saying I needed to come back because he couldn't get the baby to stop crying. I told him to try taking the baby outside. Shortly after, I got a notification from the baby monitor and saw our son in his crib crying. I was so frustrated that I turned around and came back home. When I got back, our son was still in his crib crying, and my husband was just sitting on the couch. I was furious and asked why he left the baby crying for so long. He said I couldn't get him to stop. I effing hate that thing and wish it was never here. His comment surprised and saddened me. I know everyone gets frustrated at times, but I feel like his comment was over the top and I don't know what to do anymore. What to do is you need to get your son to safety, period. These men who want these kids want the idea, the fairy tale of kids, not the actuality and the reality of children, is that they cry, they're messy, they're expensive. This is life. You don't get to sleep very much in the beginning. The reality and their fantasy of what having children is, it does not align. They do not live in this particular universe. They don't live in reality because they've never had to live in reality. And so this is what happens when society protects men and boys from caretaking duties and they absolutely have no idea how to take care of anybody and barely can take care of themselves. This woman needs to get her son away and get to safety, because if he is acting like this at 4 months old and this baby is completely unprotected, what is going to happen at 6 months, at 6 years? What kind of person are they going to be able to raise? This is not a healthy situation. This woman needs to get away from this man. Intelligent Paul says, divorce this piece of poop before he shakes your baby in a fit of rage. Live Oprah says, shaking the baby was my first thought too. He is not a safe person to leave a baby with. Unable Box says, please get the baby away from this man. My dad's cousin went to prison for unaliving his baby by shaking. His wife didn't think him capable of this. Surprised and saddened, you should be very afraid, OP, like WTF. And pissed off. The guy is rubbish, especially at his age. The old crotchety codger, he needs to be far away from that innocent baby. This person says, yeah, I'd be afraid. Comfortable Wish says he's not adjusting, and this is more common than you think. You need counseling or to get out. As a pediatric ICU, SICU nurse, these kids are shaken and beaten babies. All right, so everybody's saying get away. I say get away. You let me know what you think. So this post from the seduction subreddit was cross-posted in my BurbNBougie subreddit. This person says, this is more of a relationship question because I know nothing about seduction. How do I become the chaotic adrenaline rush for women? He says, I'm overweight and my wardrobe is totally nerdy. I have combed hair, no tattoos, wear eyeglasses, and am an engineer. My watch is a Samsung Galaxy 5 Pro or something. I know I sorely lack that cool factor. The only things I have going for me are decent finances, height, and good shoes. My question to the guys are, whom do I look to for a complete overhaul of my dressing style? Do women have an intrinsic need for drama? Do they need to cry? Is it like an adventure for them so they can have stories to tell? Because a lot of men create amazing lives for wives, like that football player, I think his name was Kaka, whose wife said that he was perfect in every way, but still divorced him. I think I'm a good boy as well. I want to be a provider. I want to love. I want to be involved in my kid's life, do loving gestures for my wife, etc. How do I learn to become toxic? How do I create drama? Do I criticize her? Do I make unreasonable demands? Do I make her cry during consensual BDSM? Will she feel cathartic after it and be satisfied with me? How do I keep the marriage interesting and keep it going? How do I make her feel excited? I've heard this phrase in dating coach videos. Make a nice girl feel like ladies of the night in bed to give them a thrill. How do I do that? Book and mentor recommendations, please. Help a brother out. I want to marry once and for life. These this is going on in the seduction subreddit. And like literally, men are keeping other men single because why is he even asking these questions to men? Like, why do they really think that being toxic and creating drama and criticizing women will get you to marrying once and for life? Like, why? This man says that he's an engineer. He says he makes decent money, so he must have some logic and has created some semblance of, a job and a career, whatever. So he has some sense. But why is it that he can't use logic when it deals with women? We are still humans. He's dealt with humans before. These are supposedly the most logical leaders. Okay, so he didn't get that many comments as of the time that I took these screenshots. But King Mustard says, as a woman, no, you don't do that at all. You create a sense of comfort for her, comfort and safety. You listen and support her. To create a thrill, you do things that require effort. Help with chores without asking, offering her a massage or paying for one if you can afford. Invite her out to eat. Enjoy sex and do your best for her to enjoy it. Talk. Cook her a meal. And the last part, don't get stuck in development. Have your interests and learn. Get better at work. Have friends and hobbies that you do without her. In other words, be respectful, interesting, and a caring human being. This unhealthy artificial thrill that you're talking about is not what a reasonable woman wishes for herself. So this is what I would say. Like, no, you don't do this. You do not create toxicity. You want to be supportive. That's what women want. King Mustard is saying things that a normal, rational human woman wants. We women are not out here looking for drama at every turn. I don't know where these men are getting this and why men keep telling this to other men. This is the part that made me laugh. This man says, don't listen to this OP. Women are the worst source of advice when it comes to seduction. Doing this ish will land you in the friend zone at best. Berserker says, yep, this is what women say they want, but deep down, they want a stud to toss them around and pull their hair. King Foster says, we do want it, but from a good guy. And Berserker says, that's fair. King Foster chimes back in saying, first of all, OP is not talking about seduction. And that's true. OP said he wants to get married. Secondly, would you prefer a person like I described, or someone who stresses you out all the time? Or do you think women are generally unreasonable? And then Vestibular Ram says, latter, as proved time and time again, your message is just that making men your little puppets. Gaslighter. Okay. King Mustard says, I only needed one man like I described, and we're marrying. No idea how you're imagining women have multiple puppet men. What kind of sick fantasy is that? Vestibular Ram says, your whole description of the perfect man was one who did your chores and foot rubs. What do you offer? Peaches are cheap. God save the poor blue pill men you got to exploit. And then King Mustard says, I'm busy planning vacations and weekends for us, doing half the chores, massaging his back more often than he does it for me, and I provide for 50% of our costs. And I like giving him spontaneous gifts like he does to me. And I pay for us often when we go out. I don't know what happened to you, but I recommend dealing with that trauma. You'll feel better. Then Jim Bro says, you are marrying the drug addicted junkie? Surely no drama there. And then King Mustard says, no, it's an ex. We broke up 2 to 3 years ago. Now, the OP comes in, says, so let me see. You dated a drug addicted guy who was unpredictable and gave you drama and emotion. Later, when you were older and wanted more stability, you went for the beta provider type who does household chores and keeps you happy, comfortable, and safe. I do appreciate your comments and I thank you for your good-hearted gesture to help me out, but that's kind of the pattern that men warn each other against. So they are not the second type of guy, which I already am. So he hears what this woman is saying. He's hearing that it didn't work out with the drama guy, but he's still not willing to make it click that it didn't work out with the drama guy. So it's perfectly fine to be the second type of guy that he's describing. So King Mustard says, drug addicted guy gave me negative drama and emotion, due mostly to worrying about his health, but also positive emotion. My current boyfriend is just gives me positive emotion. He won. You can do whatever you want, bro. All I'm saying is, if you want a smart, reasonable woman, you expect reasonable behavior from her, which is not dating men who make her unhappy. Short term, maybe, but not long term. This subreddit is full of bitter men. Think whether you want to listen to their advice. There's a reason they tend to belittle women. Their strategies just do not work. So that's what King Mustard says. And she tried to be reasonable, but even this person who acts like he might be reasonable and wants something reasonable is not willing to do the work, when all he really could do is try to turn around his style. At first he talked about that he was overweight and his style was out of date. He could have just worked on that part, but then he got to the chaos and drama part. So he just really wants to be that type of person, I guess. This is the last one I'm going to do. It depends on the woman, but generally, even if that is what you're looking for, the person that would do all those things as soon as you met them will give you red flags. Apparently, there is a courting stage where you're not necessarily playing games, but you're also not laying all your cards out. My favorite metaphor is a rubber band or a seesaw. Basically, you skip and see if they skip the same way to gauge rhythm. I found this out the hard way, and maybe at a certain age, the cards go faster, but both genders get defensive when the other pulls too hard, even if it's in the same direction. So that's what that person says. But what I mostly wanted to focus in on was the woman giving reasonable advice and the men like, don't listen to her. Anyways, join the conversation. Let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.